Welcome back to the North American LCS Spring Playoffs. You're looking at Team Impulse a short time ago, huddled up and preparing to rebound in Game 3. We'll see if they can regain the momentum in Game 3 of Team Impulse versus Team Solo Mid. And what we were touching on before the break was synergy in picks for Team Impulse because they seemed a little disjointed coming through that champion selective Game 2.
Yeah, and in the first game, which I felt they were wildly successful, they had Nunu with Shyvana and Sivir, where you have two good Blood Bowl targets and a really, really strong split push start with Shyvana that keeps TSM from getting vision and getting the picks that they want that you saw in Game 2, where they're going for charms, they're going for hooks, they're getting a lot of pick and poke because they're able to group up, get vision, and do what they want to do. So I would like to see TIP have more synergy than they had in Game 2 in picks so they can keep TSM a lot more disjointed and have their comp make a lot more sense.
Yeah, and I also want them to drop the Cassio ban for the Gragas and throw off the synergy of TSM's comp, because TSM, when they run frontliners, they have a lot of success, and that's kind of the bane of TIP that we've been seeing, is if they have people up in their face who are going to soak their damage, they don't fare very well in the team fights.
TSM success, we've talked a lot about Bjergsen, Wild Turtle, Santorin, but let's remember, too, the other two members of the team, Lustboy and Dyrus, and what their roles are when it comes to success in this best-of-5 series.
Yeah. Lustboy had been controlling the vision immensely that game. His hooks, he was the person starting most of the fights for them off of those skill shots, and he allowed them to play those pick games and the baits that they were pulling off later on when they were dancing between pink wards and they were out-rotating TIP. So he just needs another repeat performance. Wasn't broken, don't fix it for this next game.
Yeah, and just going off that, I just feel like TIP needs to play what they did to win and force TSM to show that they can beat it. I mean, TSM hasn't even shown that they can defeat the comp that they're running in Game 1, so why would you change anything? In Game 3, I fully expect them to go back to their Game 1 roots.
All right, well, as we send it over to the casters, Team Impulse will have to shake off that last game, and their coach Fly says he does his best to keep the team morale up.
당연히 그 지고 있을 때 팀 분위기가 많이 다운되는 걸 느끼잖아요. 그 상황에서 선수 개개인에게 어떤 얘기를 하면은 그 기분이 바뀔까를 생각하고 얘기를 해주려고 노력은 많이 해요. 근데 제가 영어를 잘 못하기 때문에 참 어려운 것 같아요. 그런 식으로 노력을 하고 있어요.
Morale definitely very important. We've seen many teams crumble after their first loss or their first two losses, and Team Impulse certainly, we've seen how good they can be as a team bouncing back. Definitely big for these guys.
Yeah, I want to see how they adjust to this one. We saw the guys talking on the desk. I know that they did win with the Nunu Shyvana double jungle in the first game. I don't think Rush is going to play Nunu again. I don't think he likes that champion. I think he was playing it for the power. Because it didn't work, it gives him a perfect excuse to go back onto something like Lee Sin, that he played against TSM in both of the regular season games and will allow a higher pressure, more aggressive, risky style from Impulse.
Well, it's still going to be this Cassiopeia coming through either way. The risky style, the aggressive style allowed for Team Impulse, as they are going to pick up Sivir for themselves, but they do push Dyrus off of Lulu.
And they mouse over Rush's favorite champion. Yes, Lee Sin. With the first pick of the Sivir here, though, I think it does open the door back up to the exact strategy that they used in the first game. So now it's up to TSM to actually construct their real answer, their final answer to the Sivir rushdown with a large frontline comp with a TP smite. Gragas is definitely a really big part of that. The disengages were huge last game. And we'll see if Santorin can have a repeat performance.
Yeah, his Gragas has been exceptional.
It's like, oh, you mean this champion? Yes,
I really like the Lulu ban as well there by Impulse, just to push Dyrus onto something else straight away. Even if they were able to kill him early, he just farmed up and was a supporter in later game fights.
Yeah, true. Got to see what else Dyrus can do in this champion. Lulu seems to work with their lax top focus from TSM. Of course, he had held up just fine in the 1-on-1 before. Impulse, we want to see what they're able to pick for themselves in this one. Solo Mid not showing anything new so far, and they've left both solos up for grabs, so Impulse maybe not wanted to blind pick either of these matchups.
Yeah, they're taking their time on these, but yeah, Rush back on Lee Sin. Adrian, he had been playing Nautilus pretty well, but one thing we noticed with his Nautilus initiations, the delayed nature of it, when it was a telegraphed onto this target and TSM ran back and then could get disengaged by the Grog Assault. The Leona ult is much faster and it's something that Impulse is able to act on. That's one of the main strengths of their team.
Yeah. Plus, we saw a couple canceled autos, and Leona, you don't have to cancel because you can Q. It resets your auto. You're gonna get the stun off for melee range. So every split second counts with Team Impulse because they initiate so quickly. Leona does seem like a nice speed upgrade.
Yeah, honestly, I think Impulse, this duo lane right here they pick, is the best duo lane I've seen them play as players and as a team overall. The Sivir Leona going to be strong. TSM, no Lilifine will play Maokai, no big deal. And Wild Turtle playing a new look, looking to win lane with Lucian here.
I feel like a Vlad pick in the top lane against Darius' Maokai could be likely. Definitely not. They're going with TF. Oh boy.
Here's a strategy that they wanted to run all along since the quarterfinals. Gravity Band puts a fade away every single time. Impulse is going to get that mid lane Twisted Fate. That's where the Casio Band came through.
Flash Ghost already from Xiao. Switching over very quickly. Let's see how well Impulse use this global map pressure. Not only do they have Twisted Fate to create picks, but Sivir can boost up the rest of the team to follow up on those picks. Yeah. So it's not going to just be one pick. They pick somebody off, and then they chase you down for a whole lot more.
Rush is going to be jumping around everywhere as well. Like, that is a really scary pressure team composition. It is very much what Impulse is built to do as a team, just from a player perspective, not even a champion perspective, but now the champions fit it too.
Thing is, TSM are built to counter this.
Yep.
But mid lane focus. What you do against TF is you attack him early with the jungler. Gragas, even though it's a Cinder Hulk jungler, does have early pressure. So the old Santorin-Bjergsen duo, this synergy, that's what needs to come back up for TSM. They need to go back to their roots to try and take down Impulse.
Yeah, the LeBlanc Gragas is maybe the scariest duo mid you could have in the game right now. LeBlanc oftentimes, she wins lane because she has such amazing gank assistance. Ganking for that lane is incredibly easy. They can combo off each other so well. Xiao has to be very cowardly in that lane early on, it almost feels like. And this should be a really great matchup.
All right, it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Then Bjergsen looking to disrupt Xiao's Twisted Fate, a champion. He's only very rarely been allowed to play here in the LCS playoffs. Darius' second string top lane going to be Maokai. We can see how much that champion pool is tested. And Impact playing a tank for himself in the top lane. It is not Smite on that Gnar up there. And it's going to be a very fun Game 3 series tied up 1-1 as we go live with this game. Keep us up to date with your predictions. Tweet hashtag TIP winner, hashtag TSM win to @LOL Esports on Twitter. You see the team comps on your screen. Impulse looking to make a lot of very aggressive early game plays. Shalimid looking to disrupt all those guys. Game 3 in the best of 5 is coming up. Who's headed to the finals? We're going to find out in the next 2 or 3 games.
Oftentimes in these best of 5 series, you see a team's true colors after a loss. TSM lost in Game 1, went back to hyper carry back up on Wild Turtle with pressure in the mid lane from Bjergsen Zari. Impulse was switching things up from Games 1 and 2, but because they lost, immediately rushed back onto Lee Sin, Adrian back onto Leona, and the team looking to make a lot of plays around the map.
What do you do when you're down? Immediately return to Comfort Champions. Heard that a lot yesterday as well. So this is the first time Impulse not coming out with the same just line of scrimmage start. They're going to run straight into a sapling though, so.
All right, Dyrus.
It will be deep wards though, because they still have five characters strong here. So they can make those deep wards that we have not seen so far for the lane swap identification.
All right. Both wards get seen. Those are always within vision.
There's been a ton of mind games between the junglers this series. Santorin and Rush always trying to mess each other up. Last game we kind of saw the explosion of it.
Oh, Apollo.
He would be in trouble.
But no one's around.
It's a heady play by Darius there. But also, because of that invade and because of Darius' sapling spawn, he can't pull off any cuteness with Maokai early on in the game. A lot of times Maokai will like to stack saplings, take a camp, hit level 2, especially if he's going to be forced into a lane swap or a difficult 1v1.
Well, it looks like as far as lane swaps are concerned, they are going to be almost a 2-on-2 as Impact ran to the bottom lane, but Apollo says, you know what, we saw Lucian heading up there, get us out of this lane, and I agree, it's a really tough dual lane to beat for Team Impulse. So they will swap away. Impact helps Rush start with red buff, and they can maybe go for their second buff. The enemy blue.
This is also a red buff start because Rush knows that the lane swap wards are down, and he doesn't actually want to give away his jungle opening, which he would have if he goes for the Krugs.
Very smart stuff there. Well, lane swap is the name of the game. Santorin going to walk all the way to the top side of the jungle right away. Does not want to get stolen from.
See, there's an interesting choice here for Rush. Does he decide to go the safe route and just go into the strong side of the jungle where they have a ward? Or does he continue the double jungle over into his own blue side and then possibly make a move to head off Santorin? Looks like he's going to try and grab up their own blue buff first.
Yeah, I would say actually, because TSM was not able to meet that top lane wave, this is not the most ideal lane swap formation for Impulse, since the lane is, I don't think it's freezing up in that top lane perfectly.
It's really hard for Santorin to just inherently call this. Oh, Lustboy's looking to make a roam. Okay. They're going mid lane focus. Even earlier than I expected, actually. But Xiao expected it, had an early ward there, and that venture mid does mean that Rush is able to pick up that blue buff. A little bit of the greed pays off this time for Team Impulse. And Rush with the double buff. Oh, that one's not going to pay off.
1v2 body slam Flay, and maybe the death sentence over the wall. Lustboy does not guess correctly.
They are getting a lot of damage down onto Dyrus. And because of the damage they did to Rush, they're thinking of doing a turret dive. I'm surprised Impulse is respecting this so heavily by backing away. Now there's no turret to save them.
Flash forced by Rush because the ignite from Lustboy. Yeah, 2-on-3. These guys unwilling to defend it at all.
Meanwhile, Dyrus can teleport back into the turret. So TSM, 3 lanes of experience being absorbed at the moment. Impulse shoved off.
That explains that they were afraid of the Dyrus teleport. He'd been able to recall back from getting pressured, and it would have been a 4-on-2 under the turret. So,
yep.
There's the respect from Impulse. Good communication there to realize, and just, good heads-up play. But it means top lane turret's going to get pressured very heavily by Team Solo Mid right now.
Yeah, really strong early game so far from TSM. Impulse having to react a little bit to it with the late arrival in top lane from Impact. The slight over-aggression with Rush going back at the Gromp and taking a bunch of damage just allowed some small windows of opportunity for TSM here. And you can see that with a 500 gold early advantage.
Wow, gigantic early lead. Turret health also very big in their favor. Top lane for Team Impulse, nearly dead. Bottom lane for TSM, practically full.
Also, Xiao in the mid lane. You can see only CSing with the wild cards, not moving up because he has no vision so early in the game. They lost track of Gragas, so he's playing it very, very safe.
But it's pushed out as the problem. Bjergsen's culling the way very cleanly, which means Xiao can only see us from the mid lane, even with his Q. Adrian looks for the pressure on a wild card, gets the stun. The nice double hop comes in as well. Ignite is burned. One more hit would pop Hyper, but Impact not going to hit it.
So, again, focus mid lane here. They've got the pink ward already setting up this gank. Is Xiao playing safe enough?
Nice dodge of the chain.
Using his ghost right as he saw Lustboy, which gave him the ability to dodge the chain. Saves him from either having to burn both summoner spells or dying altogether.
Danger ping goes down, but top lane does not react. The roam from TSM gonna get there in time for Adrian.
That's a really good boomerang toss, though. Impact catches. Yeah,
that was cute. He jumped on Adrian to cover more distance.
Yeah.
Top laner support synergy. Gnar is actually pretty good in 2v2 lanes.
Yeah.
As a pseudo AD carry.
I remember Nidalee used to be one of the better 1v2s back when she was a bit of a top laner, just because she was able to be ranged and kind of hit things from far away. Long-range skill shot to get CS, long-range auto attacks gets him as well. So far, so good for him. TSM, that lead has actually shrunk pretty significantly, actually. It's down to 200 here. Of course, a couple of waves still on the map makes that a bit of an awkward measure.
Uh-oh, he's going to miss one of these at least.
Nothing he could do.
Hurts your soul, freak.
Hurt Xiao more than that. This guy lives to farm.
Sure.
All right, he is level 6 though, so while he does live to farm, now he's built to gank.
Mercury Tread's first item on TF as well. He is defensive TF, to say the least. He's got to dodge his skill shots, and also if he takes one, he's trying to give him that tenacity early on in the game.
Well, it's the best way to get himself extra move speed. He's at 397 before any other augmentations there, so at least some extra move speed from Runes and Masteries. Impact does not lose his recall.
I can't remember the last time I saw a mid laner build Mercury Treads as his first item.
Yeah. Anytime Keen played mid Hecarim, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it, because he'd always rush home guards.
True.
But
Will Xiao also
case.
rush home guards?
Oh god,
there's always the chance.
the home guard TF game.
Not horrible, I suppose, but either way, definitely an uphill battle right now for Team Impulse's mid laner. Bjergsen going in pretty hard, thankfully for Xiao. He misses the chain.
Chugging on his flask as well. Definitely going to need to use that renewable resource. Stick in this lane and stay close in CS. He's doing a pretty good job considering how safe he's played and how many visits not only Santorin but also Lustboy made.
Oh yeah,
Mid.
and he's missing Ghost right now, so a summoner disadvantage for him as well. Xiao, just the hydro-powered flask, the renewable resources, in comes it. Wow, again. Xiao so far reading Bjergsen well and dodging the chains. On the guessing game so far, TSM have guessed mostly wrong. The hook over the wall when they went for Rush a while back, the 2 chains so far, but at some point Impulse luck will run out. And these kills might start coming through pretty soon for TSM.
Yeah. Maybe the most surprising thing is that we have not seen Rush on our screens in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Really of the laning phase here. I mean, the Lee Sin, the classic Rush, not there in the early game. Right now, though, he's got focus on vision. Picked up a couple of wards on his back. See if he can actually get Xiao the control that he needs in mid lane to free up the TF to make a move.
I feel like the lane swap set Rush back a fair bit. When Santorin caught him and burned his flash, it took the aggression right out of Rush's early game, not wanting to make a big mistake that sets his team back. He'd already been caught by Santorin once during some counter jungling and didn't want to let it happen again.
Attempt mid number 7.
Bring the house!
Oh, the hook is gonna land. Also, the Gragas is gonna land. Pretty much everything. Xiao flayed in, flashes the wall. In comes Santorin for another attempt. The Ignite. Gonna get the kill over to Lustboy. The fight's still continuing. Teleport comes in from the TSM top laner. Adrian in a pretty bad spot. Flashes over, but still caught up by Dyrus. Eclipse not gonna give enough durability. 2 kills over the team solo mid. Bjergsen's LeBlanc definitely off the ground.
That, I don't know what the reason for that aggressive move from Xiao was to move up towards Thresh for the stun card. He had been dodging previously when Bjergsen all-in'd him towards Bjergsen to make him miss the chain from LeBlanc, but Lustboy throws it directly at his face, and Xiao steps right in. Cost his team a lot of control mid.
A lot of more control mid as Rush gets cake and down. Xiao shows up, but Dyrus on a lantern gets away pretty cleanly. Impact fairly close to Mega Gnar, but taking a lot of damage. He's not tanking it. It's a Hex Drinker Gnar. Boomerang Blade gets Lustboy low, but no follow-up for Impulse.
Mid lane pressure is the name of the game for TSM here. It's what you do against Twisted Fate. We haven't seen Twisted Fate come out in a while, but TSM is not missing a beat delivering this camp of the mid lane. It's the only way they get a numbers advantage is if they can take down Twisted Fate first, and they are exploiting that right now.
He had done such a good job, though. He had already popped the Ghost. He could easily dodge a max range Thresh hook, yet he runs straight forward. It wasn't even... Xiao was handling the pressure very well up until that point.
You know, we asked if TSM could adapt well to the new meta, the Smite top laners. How many jungle camps can you take down? Well, there's one extra camp for TSM. It's the mid lane camp, and these players very good at getting to that one. So far, they have smited Xiao.
Former NFL punter and LoL analyst with some predictions before that first game, and now calling this one for TSM in Game 3.
Hey, so far it's good. Just pull a dash and, you know, put in your predictions most way through the series.
And then, well, that
Get it
was
wrong.
That's the unfortunate part. This one, though, 2,500 gold on the side of TSM, on top of the stacked deck bonus that Xiao gets on Twisted Fate, which is free gold.
So Limiter's still very far ahead here.
Because we've been focused so heavily on the mid lane, we haven't really talked about Dyrus this game. On Maokai, on the tank, took the Lulu ban. He's up a large margin. Take a look at this dragon, though. He doesn't have teleport, just down there tanking it, and he's able to grab the objective for the team.
Yep, It's
The lane swaps here for TSM.
It's basically that.
reacted
TSM won the
very
lane
well.
swap early on, and that's allowing them to focus the mid lane since they don't have to worry about Dyrus at all this game. Xiao Xiao is in so much trouble.
The Wolves save Xiao from the chain, meaning he lives through the Ignite of Lust Boy, but TSM underneath the turret still not able to get shoved around. These guys own the map right here. TSM looks like they're going to push in for mid-outer, and there is very little response from Impulse.
Yeah, they're definitely behind the ball right now, Team Impulse. Santorin has the Trailblazer as well, so he benefits greatly just from that one little skirmish with Rush that set him behind. Because he went with the Chilling Smite, much harder to farm. They've both committed to... a Xiao Xiao again.
Adrian takes one for the team. He's going to take a whole bunch of damage. Nice three-man stun, but will it be enough? Maybe? But he chipped into the culling, but he still goes down.
There's never enough people there for Team Impulse. TSM always outnumbering them. Gnar off in the top lane. Twisted Fate can never teleport into these fights because he is always the one being collapsed upon. And it is just going from bad to worse for Impulse here. TSM is playing this game textbook.
I mean, they take the mid lane turret and they immediately set up wards all around the middle of the map and circle around while they know that Impulse have not had the time to set up vision to compensate for the lack of turret mid.
The Warrior Enchant Lee Sin really not having an early impact as well, so everything that Team Impulse bet themselves on so far really not working. Solomid doing an amazing job of pushing around Impulse and not letting anything go well. Apollo's getting farm. He's up 23 CS, but Sivir's not exactly Jinx or Kog'Maw. It's not like the gold's going to make her a ridiculous late game here.
Yeah, it's a 1,000 gold advantage for both Santorin and Bjergsen over their counterparts. And we know that Santorin and Bjergsen have awesome synergy when TSM runs that mid lane priority, which conveniently is the ideal thing to shut down the strength of this Team Impulse composition. Everything is just going to plan for TSM this game.
Yeah, Dyrus as well, up 1,000 gold over Impact.
That's the big X factor. That's the reason this game is getting so out of hand, because we're used to Bjergsen and Santorin if they focus on mid to get mid going.
Yeah, they're supposed to have their gold leads.
Yeah.
Dyrus and Turtle are a bonus.
Well, yeah, I mean, Impact and Rush are supposed to have their gold leads too, and yet here we have a game where Rush hasn't done anything except die this game, and Impact getting the worst end of the lane swap is still very far behind Dyrus. So, gold lead once again. Team Solomid last game, we're able to cash that one in pretty cleanly. Rush Nation's team fight won him the game off of Baron buff.
Rush looks like he's trying to force a move up top. Now, Dyrus, very tanky at this point, has built early armor, and it just feels like this is going to be a very hard play to pull off. Patience, though. They are just going to wait in that bush for a long, long time. Dyrus also has flash, by the way.
Woo. Ooh, one bolt away from dying. TF ult comes in. Looks like top lane
on top
is the focus. Dyrus has the ulti on. Impact not even close to Mega Gnar, and he gets out with just a flash. Rush even kicked him.
Yeah.
And they lose complete mid lane pressure after that because Xiao Xiao committed for it. Not only did they have their jungler camp in the top lane brush, but they also committed their mid lane teleport, the first real TF gank, and TSM punished them for it.
Wow, absolutely nothing done. This Impulse lineup falling flat very heavily. Team Solomid pressuring everywhere around the map. You gank 3 top, will kill bot lane and mid lane for this one. Wild Turtle looking to bounce the wave off the turret kill.
This is quite a performance by TSM throughout.
Oh, bit of damage. Impact will switch back to Minion Gnar, which will give him some percent health damage, maybe on the chase toward Dyrus. It's a flashless Maokai. Impact has his, but no other help left around. Rush very caught. He has nowhere to go. Bounced around by everybody. Bjergsen gets the kill. Rampage for the mid laner of TSM.
All the ults for Rush right there because TSM is free to go wherever they want. If I'm looking at this from Impulse's perspective, sometimes when you're preparing heavily for a lot of best of fives, which Impulse had to do, a best of 5 against Gravity and a best of 5 against TSM, and you have a strategy that you think is your ace in the hole because it works so well in practice, which honestly, based on the bans that Gravity had levied at Impulse and their confidence with his Twisted Fate comp, I think Impulse thought this was their best team.
I agree.
Also, TSM threw out the bait in that first game by banning the Twisted Fate and being like, oh yeah, we're scared of it too. But maybe this whole time, if you think you have a team comp that is your best, you oftentimes don't practice it as much as your other things because you think it is reliable. But what appears to be happening this time for Team Impulse, A, they're not used to things going wrong with the team comp, and B, even their early game strat didn't seem very well measured because they have no answer for this Gragas LeBlanc.
I don't really feel like this is a comp issue. I feel like these are mistakes that were made by Impulse early in the game that have led them to this situation.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of that does have to do, though, if they think this is their best team comp, how many Twisted Fate games has Xiao actually been getting in? How much has Rush actually been practicing Lee Sin recently versus Nunu? Yes, they are some of their best champions that they feel like they can fall back onto, but the individual play is not following through with this. The comp is fine, but they are getting outplayed.
Now TSM doing an amazing job with their play to keep Impulse down, and the result of all that is a 5,000 gold lead at 17 minutes. Team Sulamid have aggressive pink wards. They got aggressive stealth wards here. They've got a ton of vision control. Well, Apollo pops ulti because he's just afraid of getting hit.
And spell shields.
Ulti hits Lust Boy. They can stun up the TSM support. Ulti comes in. Oh my god, they lock up the entire TSM lineup. That's a 1-for-0. Will there be more? Adrian is no longer tanky. As look at the damage coming through. 2 more kills picked up for Solo Mid. And Xiao forced to run away. Can't for long. It's a 3-1 for TSM. Maybe it'll be 4.
Wow. Impulse committed super hard for that one on TSM, and you can't blame them. They needed to try and create something. TSM just so far ahead.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Dragon number 2 for TSM. Ooh, going to take the red buff as well. Big bonus there for Wild Turtle. He's getting right back into this game, evened up his CS. TSM looking very, very strong in game number 3.
Quick dash over the wall. Dragon going to be secured with no problems whatsoever. Team Sulamid looking at now a 7,000 gold lead 18 minutes in. One of the biggest leads we've ever seen in the North American LCS. It's rare form to see a gold lead this big.
Interestingly enough, Impulse had a similar gold lead against Gravity in their first best of 5. The first game, actually. To be on the other side of that coin must not be nice for Impulse. Yeah, double flash by Adrian and Xiao to try and start this fight off because they had Mega Gnar. So timing-wise, this would have been a great fight to take for Impulse, if not for the giant gold deficit. Dyrus was completely unkillable when he TP'd in here, and the chase from Lucian LeBlanc was enough to destroy Impulse.
Yeah, they were able to take out one member of TSM, but the one member was Lust Boy, the Thresh.
We did it.
I mean, and you had mentioned how far ahead some of the TSM members were. The 2 first targets focused were kind of tanks. And, you know, like, you look at Lust Boy's gold, he's got as much gold, by the way, as Rush or Impact. Like, that's a fairly beefy Thresh, all things considered. And
Yeah, he wants to be on the front line. Look at him, he's building a righteous glory.
Yeah. Yeah. Already got one on Santorin. Want to add more engage power. Team Sulamid able to get whatever they want started. Mid lane tier 2 goes down for Lust Boy, so you might knock down bottom outer, but a better and bigger turret goes down in TSM's favor. Things continually going the red team's way.
Makes this series so interesting. The mind game sometimes of being blue side versus red side right here. TSM staying on red side to try to get the red side sweep with their red side strats here on the back side of this series. Now they go for Baron with pink ward control. No Twisted Fate ultimate up. Also, with the last game being prepped of TSM always just getting picks around the Baron pit,
Yeah.
Impulse is terrified to walk into their own jungle.
Well, they're not even going to really try. Team Sulamid picks up the 20-minute and 27-second Baron, and even still they can go for the picks. Adrian barely dodges the hook. And out they go, one of the fastest Barons ever. Well, in this year.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to spawn 8 minutes, so,
Yeah.
I mean, in the history of League of Legends, slow, but...
I like it, I like it. The consistency of TSM, though, showing through here.
Yeah.
I mean, not only do they get an advantage out of the lane swap, which historically Impulse, obviously they're a new team that came together. They had a lot of problems with lane swaps early on. But the best of 5 series, we expected TSM to take hits early. They usually actually take hits early on in best of 5 series, and then they adapt to them later on. Throughout this game, they knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. A global teleport mid laner. Just continue to attack it.
And it's the second game in a row that Team Solamit have opted to counter-pick mid lane for Bjergsen, give him an assassin in a good matchup, get the pressure lead over the enemy mid laner, and lo and behold, Solamit doing quite well for themselves. Bjergsen 5-0 in this game. And mid lane turret nearly dying to the Baron buff.
I mean, Impulse's coach talked about trying to keep morale up for these guys. He needs to start thinking about that 5 or 10 minutes ago, because this game is really getting out of hand. And honestly, Impulse needs to be thinking about their game 4 plans for a lot of this. It is nice to not consider yourself out of the game or anything, but their window for Twisted Fate to be effective with global pressure is long gone.
And here comes a hard engage. Inhibitor turret goes down. There's the dive. Lee Sin already gone. Adrian gonna follow him soon into the death chambers. And now Apollo, nice spell to keep himself up. Impact gets a stun, but it's a 3 versus 5. There's just no damage left. And in comes the hook. Xiao gonna fall. Apollo, the last one down. And an ace for Team Solamit inside of Impulse's base.
And they have Baron plus a minion wave. This could be a sub 23-minute victory for TSM.
Talk about speed wreckers, Freak. This one is definitely up there this season.
Man, all right. Well, put them on Summer Games done quick, because Team Solamid looking to get a 22-45 second Nexus turret down. But the respawns are so darn quick that they're going to try to fight Rush while fighting the base. And this could be actually Team Impulse holding the base alive for now.
Our hopes of the record still alive.
Oh,
Wow.
Rush's
there's
game
more.
is not getting any better right here.
Do it. He does. Hey! Bjergsen lives. Oh, the wild card gets him. In comes Impact. Team Impulse are not done. Wild Turtle goes down. Lustboy is sure to follow once Gold Card comes back up. Xiao shows him how it's done, and Lustboy gets taken out. Dragon's up in a minute, though. Impulse, nothing much to do. Bot lane is open, maybe.
Even with all those shutdowns, 10,000 gold. 2 dragons to 0. It's a nice relief of the pressure by Team Impulse, but as far as the overall impact of this game, it would take about 3 more of those in order to turn the game around.
Yeah. Rush trying to walk away. Dyra says nope. Takes down 1, 2, and they're going to chain on this.
Once again, these are fights that wouldn't be awful for Impulse if it wasn't for the giant gold lead. Grog assaulting a Mega Gnar back into your team near a wall doesn't seem like the best thing to do.
Yeah, Turtle had to flash.
10 health to a minion. Xiao, calculated.
Living on the edge.
Easy. Well,
Got to make things exciting.
even the minions are dangerous for Team Impulse inside their base. Waves are going to take a while, of course. Those in Nexus turrets will never respawn, so always the threat of pressure, always the threat of split push here. They got to wait another 3 minutes for their inhibitor to come back up, but Dragon's already on the field. There's a lot TSM can do. There we go, taking down Wild Turtle, solos it. Bonus movement speed, and the next target looks to be bottom lane.
And if Impulse tries to defend this turret, I feel like the game ends. Yeah, they lose their Nexus. Because TSM can dive in behind the turret with a Maokai, follow up with the Gragas ultimate, and Darius would be tanky enough to go in between that turret, I feel like.
Well, here's all 5 of solo mid. And they will go and knock down that bottom tier 2. Bjergsen always buys that pretty early blue elixir. Gives him even more turret killing power. Nice to see for him. And now for inhibitor number 2. A turret under fire. TSM go in. Bjergsen chunks out Adrian to 1/3. And they will not quite get the follow-up damage. Centaur gets a lantern out. He stays safe. But Impact down to 1/4 health himself. Wildcards wave clear a little bit. Solamid can nearly one-shot the backline. Hook on Impact.
Oh.
The culling almost takes him out. So many near kills for TSM. But it's actually Wild Turtle who goes down. Big mid-lane minion wave coming in, though. TSM forced to run.
Honestly, the Wildcards did a lot of work there for Tip as they were defending that. Where's Xiao going to go? Suicide! No,
Goes in a little bit too late, and the hook's not going to catch him. Rush comes in for Lustboy. A couple more attacks will do him in. But Bjergsen going to be close to getting this kill. Puts in the Q. Doesn't quite get it. Ignite won't take him out either. And it's 2 kills for Team Impulse. They've got to go back and defend. And it's their tank, Adrian, who's sitting there wailing on minions, trying to keep it alive with Impact.
Santorin is still not died either. Santorin 0-0-12 here. Only missed out on 2 kills from TSM.
Here's Monson, Xiao! Oh my god!
Oh, they killed him!
He got
They
back
both
on
died.
Xiao Xiao, but hey, worth it, IMO.
It's getting a little sloppy for TSM.
Yeah.
Honestly, they thought the game was going to be over at 22 minutes, and this has been a minor problem during the regular season before for TSM as well, where the game extended beyond the point where it should. Here, the main part of this fight was actually earlier when Santorin took a bunch of turret damage and blew his ultimate, meaning there's no disengage for Team Impulse when this happens. Rush with a great kick, Apollo with a great flash auto, and then once again, no Gragas ultimate to engage or disengage. Chasing in as well, Bjergsen does have to respect the gold card when it's pulled, has to get out of there right away, and the chase from Twisted Fate was respected when Lustboy mistimed his hook.
Bjergsen forced to flash away. A little cleanup for fun.
Yeah, TSM really do need to regroup before going into the next game. Yes, they've won 2 in a row versus Impulse here, but only 1 game.
So gonna rush. Goodbye.
Speaking of having to regroup, Rush has had a rough time.
Rush has had a very
1-6-2. Every once in a while, we see Rush start a game with a whole lot of deaths.
And that's what happens when you have this playstyle, right? When things go poorly early and you keep trying to force it, they're gonna get worse and worse.
Yeah, my made-up stat for it is 80%. It works 80% of the time. This is the one game in the BO5 you're allowed to have this, because you're now get your backs up against the wall. Team Impulse in a really bad spot. This game, 99% of the times they do lose this one. TSM looking to close this one out and make it a 2-1 scoreline in this best of 5. Xiao Xiao getting chased out. And mid lane about to get knocked down soon as well. Xiao Xiao gets caught out by Dyrus. He could be a kill, and he is. Dyrus solos him from 1/4 health, and now Impulse missing their mid laner, missing their wave clear. Here comes the push that might win the game. No turrets left on this path. Rush down to 1/3. Santorin says hello. Impact is Mega Gnar.
Nexus is open, guys.
But yeah, it's an open Nexus. In he goes. Knocks him into the team. A little bit of damage comes through. The tankies are pretty big, though, and Apollo's going to be killed. Wild Turtle does trade back. 80 carries are gone, but it's still a 3 versus 4 in TSM's favor. Down goes Impact. 4 versus 2. And now to the Nexus they go to close the game out. 29 minutes. Team Solo Mid now 1 game away from their 5th consecutive North American LCS Finals.
Control of this series is back in the hands of TSM. You could see Impulse's adjustment here to a much different team composition, but Team Solomid is just playing so well right now.
That one hiccup down bottom, I think that Loco Doco probably will bring that up for the beginning of the next game.
At the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it was 22 minutes in and you nearly kill the Nexus, and then 7 minutes later you have to end the game. There's some sloppiness in that.
Sure.
But the first 22 minutes of that were pristine.
Absolutely.
2 thumbs up.
5.
6 total if you put all of us in here. Like, honestly, yeah, it was a very, very good early game by TSM. The mid lane pressure, oh, look, it worked. And it's weird because you were talking about this at the beginning of the game, like, all right, it's the standard TSM game plan. They're so good at getting Bjergsen ahead. They pick red side for game 3 so they can counterpick in game 2, game 3, and game 4 here as TIP picked blue. And TIP blind pick a weak mid laner, and I feel like that has to change right away.
That hurt.
Again, I was just so disappointed with the step up there for Xiao Xiao when he walked into the Thresh Hook. I felt like it was doing so good, absorbing all of the pressure from TSM for the vast majority of the beginning of the game.
He was. Xiao Xiao this year has been somewhat of an enigma. You never know if he's going to be pulling out a great performance.
Is he going to dodge straight at you?
Yeah.
Or?
And every once in a while, he just does something he should never do.
Yeah. Well, an unfortunate game then for Xiao Xiao and the rest of the team getting kind of pushed around as well by Team Solomid. A great game 3 win for TSM and more for that win. Let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you, Freak. A second win there for TSM, 2-1 in TSM's favor now in the series. So the first question for me is mental fatigue, the mentality of Team Impulse coming off of 2 losses in a row after a pretty commanding first win of the series.
Yeah, and mental fatigue is something I have a lot of experience with because I'm so used to losing. So when you're behind, you have to make more decisions and harder decisions in a shorter span of time from when you're ahead. When you're in control of the game, you can either take your time or the decisions are easier because you have more opportunities. So when you're behind like Team Impulse is, actually there's a lot of mental fatigue and people will attribute this to like tilting or, oh, well, they're choking. But really it's just, you can't make that many decisions game after game after game and have them all turn out well. So when they're backs to the wall and they only have to lose one more game to get out, it gets increasingly harder to make good decisions as the series goes on.
They also didn't kind of capitalize on what was going well for them in game one. Like, the fact that they decided to change their strategy is absolutely baffling to me. Like, they haven't run a TP Smite top laner since then. I understand you want to run TF mid, right? You're banning Cassiopeia for that reason. But if you want that strategy, why would you pick starting blue side games 2 and 4? Why don't you just pick red side and get it as a counter pick? Because you're going to get counter picked by Bjergsen, and he's going to play LeBlanc into you every time. Like, it's just absolutely strange to me that TIP came into this with something that looked like a ton of prep for red side. Then when they're playing blue side, the side that they chose, they just dropped the ball over and over again so far.
And I just want to talk a little bit about Xiao Zhao because I feel like even if TIP loses, I got to give this guy some credit before it's too late. This guy is so good. I feel like he is a player with amazing mechanics, as you saw. He's dodging everything, hitting every skill shot that he needs to be. Really quick fingers. Also amazing game sense. You can tell when he's playing TF and Karthus, he knows exactly what's going across the map at all times. The only problem is I feel like he's on the either a wrong team or a team that is not built to help him. He can possibly win every 1v1 matchup against Bjergsen. He's just not given the opportunity because TIP is not giving him any resources. And when he does get a lead in CS or gold or even in pressure, TIP doesn't help him drive it home. So he doesn't really get to push Bjergsen in and make him useless. And it's just really TSM bullying him around despite the fact that he's such a great player.
And you could see all the resources TSM put in there. They were like, all right, winning matchup for Bjergsen last pick, it's like, boom, let's throw Lustboy into mid, Santorin into mid, and everybody's just throwing all the skill shots at him, right? He can only dodge them for so long.
That's what it's a very interesting point, Doublelift, about the fact that he is a mechanically skilled player, but isn't given the resources to work with, because we saw so often he would push it in, wild cards out with TF, push the lane in, and then just go sit by his turret. He literally had nothing else to do, so unless they give him a good ultimate to another lane, he's rendered ineffective.
And the most hilarious part to me is, critically, this is the guy who's getting counterpicked all 3 games so far in this series, and he just doesn't care. Like, he's just playing out of his mind, actually. The fact that he's even able to go even in CS or pressure with Bjergsen, and TSM is a team that pressures mid almost always with Lustboy and Santorin, just highlights the fact that he's just playing so well in this series.
So then I think where we go from there is needing to, wishing the Team Impulse would utilize his ability to stave off that mid lane pressure for so long, because he did do it for so long. Kobe gave him praise for having played that lane so well until he walked into that hook from Lustboy. But through all that time, TSM is funneling resources mid, and Impulse wasn't capitalizing elsewhere on the map, knowing that they could put man advantages in other lanes.
Yeah, and what I will say is, if you kind of break down Team Impulse's performance so far in this series, Apollo and Adrian have had little to no game impact. Or I would say Adrian has decent game impact, but Apollo is really doing almost nothing in these games in terms of pressure. If you compare his pressure in the map compared to Wild Turtle, he's almost always at a disadvantage. What you'll see is there's a potential for game impact coming from mid lane that they're just not tapping into, and instead they're just forcing plays in the jungle with Adrian and Rush, and they're just trying to snowball that into Impact's lane, and that's a really predictable playstyle. Xiao Zhao is also locked into a predictable playstyle. He's just going to be farming mid lane. They need to change something up fundamentally about the team in this next game if they want to win.
Yeah, and it wasn't working for them when they were like, we're going to have jungle and top pressure when they got shut down, because it was predictable in TSM. We're like, all right, invade him early, keep him down, keep the lane swap going. Like, that was really in TSM's favor. They won the lane swap pretty handily.
And that's where I want to make the transition over to TSM, because that first game, Dyrus went down 0-2 in lane very early, and we saw a lot of that be the reason why the TP Smite Shyvana, which we said worked out very well, but Impact having that leg up over Dyrus allowed them to affect the rest of the map. In these next 2 games, Dyrus having a much more solid performance, and we pointed both him and Lustboy out as being, people that, although they're not looking for tons of farm, tons of damage, and huge plays, their consistent performance throughout the rest of this series is going to be kind of what seals the game for TSM. So getting Dyrus into a comfortable position here, I think, is the way that TSM secures the series.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that is TIP's letting TSM play their own game. TIP is not dictating the pace like they normally do. Like the fact that they have the TP Shyvana as a strat coming in, the fact that they're letting Santorin have this pressure jungler that can also transition into a tank in late game fights is something that TIP need to reevaluate. That you cannot let TSM play their own game because they're going to beat you at it.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really throwing Impulse off is just how great Santorin's playing. Like, this guy is playing amazing this series, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's been getting Gragas these last 2 games, and a lot of people underestimate that champion in terms of game impact. I mean, Santorin's hitting great ultis, great body slams. He's snowballing early game every game so far with Gragas. Bjergsen's just expected to play amazing. Turtle and Lustbar are holding up and doing well late game. Like, this is just a team that's playing their game.
Yep. Pressure's on Impulse, definitely, here going into Game 4. Now, Team Solomid are just 1 game away from locking up their spot in the finals. We'll see if they can get it done or if Team Impulse can push the series to 5 games. Don't go anywhere.
Guys, I'm so hungry.
Same.
Oh my god.
I'm hungry for kills.
I'm so hungry, dude. Can we end this fast?
Gonna get the kill over to Lustboy. The fight's still continuing. Teleport comes in from the TSM top laner. Adrian in a pretty bad spot. Flashes over, but still caught up by Dyrus.
I think we can still fight. We can still fight.
We can still fight. I hit them all.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Going.
I'm going on impact.
Wait out. Follow.
3 seconds.
Gonna follow him soon into the death chambers, and now Apollo, nice filter to keep himself up. Impact gets a stun, but it's a 3 versus 5. A little bit of damage comes through. The tankies are pretty big though, and Apollo's gonna be killed. Wild Turtle does trade back. 80 carries are gone, but it's still a 3 versus 4 in TSM's favor.
Team Solomid now 1 game away from their 5th consecutive North American LCS finals.